with us backing you, we can do great things. They did. With 3 developed armies and got their liberation in the Haitian islands. And of course, we know the names, don't we? Toussaint, Dessalines, Christophe. That came in Haiti. It came on an island of an African family, and it shocked the world, because that's never happened before or since, that people who were in that stage of development threw off the oppressive reins and established themselves as independent countries. That's what happened in Haiti. It just seems that when we really get it together, we pull inside to go outside. That's the point I'm trying to make. And that when I see people who have not pulled inside to go outside, my guess is that they're going to bring outside inside. You see what I'm saying? That if you intend to get the business done, then sometimes you have to retreat. And I don't mean run away. I don't mean back up. But I mean pull in to get your bearings and see what it is that I want to do. To paint a picture of the optimum. What does it look like? And see, we don't all know this. In fact, I don't think any of us know it until we come together like this, in a place like this. Sometimes with no agenda. And just say, hey, what's on your mind? What does the picture look like to you? Because one of the things I've learned too, not only in Africa, but anywhere, that 2 heads are better than 1. That you can get more done collectively than you can get done by yourself, whether that's working or thinking. And that if you're willing to be patient and tolerant, it's amazing how many things come up. You see, and I watch this very carefully on the African continent. I spent a lot of time of my 6 years in Liberia trying, because I had grown up in Texas and Colorado, of course in an African community in Texas and Colorado, but I had grown up in those communities, and I was fascinated by the connections. Fascinated that I would sit in sanctified church and hear people saying, victory, victory shall be mine, victory, victory shall be mine. And go sit in Liberia in the middle of the bush and hear the same song in another language, in Wolof. But it was a different word, but it was the same music, same beat, the same call and response pattern. So I got fascinated by watching some of these things. And so I got fascinated by how decisions get made in Africa. I'm talking about, this is what I saw with my eyes. I'm not talking, see, what Jay Carruthers was just talking a little earlier, correctly, about how a lot of people comment about Africa. And they make up stuff that in no way resembles what's going on in Africa. In fact, I had a friend from Africa, from Liberia, who used to come to San Francisco, and once he got an audience, he was subject to say anything. It had no relationship to the truth at all. But once he got somebody fascinated, you see, then he would feed that fascination. And so I'm sure that that's how some of the spurious stuff about the African continent got told in the first place, that some of us helped tell those stories. So it's really important not to glamorize and romanticize, the facts. The facts have to be the facts. So that's why I'm saying that these are things I saw. I'm talking about decision making. I saw 12 little boys with 3 Americans among them set up on the beach in Africa. Well, I took these 12 boys myself. But my son needed company, so we formed a boys club. So the little kids around my house, I gathered them all up with another adult, put them in my car, in his car. We went out and stayed on the beach one night, several times. We did it all the time. They formed something they called the Tiger Club. No tigers in Africa, but they wanted to call it the Tiger Club, and who am I to stop them from calling it the Tiger? They made songs. They did everything. But what was interesting to me, this one little event on the beach, that I had warned them that they had certain things they had to bring. See, I know how to have a camp out. I used to be in the Boy Scouts. The way you have a camp out is that you buy a tent, you get you some steaks, and you get a Eskimo cooler, and you buy some this. I mean, I had all these things that I was supposed to do, and I was loaded down with all this crap. And the little kids never brought anything. They brought one thing, a machete. Only one machete. 12 kids, one machete. You know, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, I'm going to have to squeeze everybody into this little tent. And then I'm going to have to, you know, the food is not enough, and the ice. We had all kind of problems. At least I thought we had problems. And the kids got out there, and then they didn't want to get ready for the night. They played all day. We had one little old beat up soccer ball. African people can be happy with anything. That's like when I was a little kid. I didn't have anything. I was never unhappy. You see, I had a little skateboard that I made, some old skates that somebody threw away. I made myself a scooter. Had a little coat hanger, and the rim off the wheel of something. I don't even know where the rim came from. I take my coat hanger, and we could make those wheels run up and down and around and everything. And it didn't cost us anything. None of my toys cost anything, because if they had, I would have had no toys. Now see, that's that creativity. You see, here were these young boys. They had this old beat up ball, and they played soccer on the beach until the sun was almost to go down. And then at some point, I never saw them hold a meeting, but everybody left. They disappeared at some point. I couldn't figure out where. You know, oh my God, you know, the parents are going to hold me responsible. And I hear noise off in the bush. The next thing I know, here come all these little boys dragging thatch, as they call it. The TH sound, you know what the sound. It's thatch. And they constructed a house on the beach. And just to make a long story short, it was the only one standing in the morning. My tent wasn't standing. Because there's wind. The beaches are windy. So you have to have, listen to what's necessary. You have to have certain kinds of knowledge about materials, and it's an almost engineering level knowledge is what you're talking about, anticipatory. And then, but I'm just showing the planning took place, and I don't know when and why and how, but I know it was collective. That's my point. That you can do more by yourself, with somebody than you can do by yourself. That's the point that I'm trying to make. So the source of the leadership for liberation is kind of a collective leadership. That's what happened in Haiti. The people came together. The public saw Tucson. But what was behind Tucson was the collective wisdom of those people who were entrusted with the responsibility. I saw this over and over and over again, repeated. Even the court trial. I'll make this my last example of that. I mean, I've told this many times, but it was just such a stunning example of the African way at work. I saw a man who was president, and as president, according to the law, there are certain things he could do. This happened to be the William V.S. Tubman era of Liberia. That, they call him, like Canarat Tubman. They had an oil company in Cape Mount County in Liberia that had destroyed some homes and had dug up some people's farms so they could plant oil palm. And the people were mad. You would be mad, wouldn't you, if your livelihood was gone and your place to stay was gone. But this oil company thought it had the legal right, and in fact on paper did have the legal right to do what they did. They had purchased, and I don't know how they got the right to do that, but there was hints that some people had sold things that they had no right to sell. You know, that happens sometimes too. But regardless, there was a problem of human beings. Not a problem of the law. The problem is that human beings got to live. And it was interesting to me how this president handled it, because there's a legal system. You know, if you come up to file your suit, it comes up this way and it goes into the local court and the Supreme Court. They got the same pattern on paper that the United States got. But that's not how they solved the problem. They solved the problem when the president came to town in Cape Mount County and called all the paramount chiefs together in a public place where anybody could come. And he talked to them and he said, I want to hear from you what your problems are. And they kept one by one telling him what their problems were. He got the oil company sitting over here on the right. He said, I want to hear from you how you respond to what their problems are. Did you knock the houses down? Did you tear up the farms and so forth? Yes, we knocked the houses down. We tore up the farm. Why did you do that? You know, this is the way we do. What do you have to say to that? The president says, is there anybody in this whole gathering that's got anything else to say? You ever been to a courtroom where the judge asked you your opinion? You say, well, how would he ask me my opinion when it's not clear that I had anything to do with the trial? But the president asked everybody there what they had to say, including the crazy man who got up and started talking, and people started rushing to, you can't get up here and talk to the president that way. The president said, take your hands off the man. Let him talk. Let him talk as long as he wants to talk. And the man talked. And he talked. He wasn't making any kind of sense, but he talked. He talked. But I noticed that what the president was doing was that in spite of the fact he had the legal authority to do certain things, he didn't invoke it. In fact, if he had done it, he would have lost everything. What he had to do was to bring harmony in the community. That's what his goal was. So what he did, after he had heard everybody, he took the next step. He let them know that he had heard them. This is a step we skip. How does he let them know that he heard them? He went back to the beginning of the trial and repeated verbatim the points that were made by every witness that came before him without reference to notes. Talk about a man up in his 70s that had sat there for 3 days and listened to testimony, relevant and irrelevant, and made all the points. You can imagine the impact that has on people to feel that you've been heard. See, a lot of times people don't, you may know you're going to lose, but you want to be heard. You see, you want to, how can you make this decision? I've been trying to make my point, and you're going to make it without even hearing what it is I got to say. But when you hear it repeated back, you know whether it was what you said or not. You got a chance to correct it, right? That's the second step that he took. I saw that with my own eyes.